Between the years of 1968 and 1978, three medical professionals had a dream, and that dream was to give infertile women a chance at having a child. And through trials and tribulations, through heartache and sadness, sacrificing everything, including time with their families and media scrutiny from all sides, this is their story. Joy, 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 down in the heart, yeah, down in the heart today. Joy, the birth of IVF, is a Netflix original from director Ben Taylor, who did Sex Education. You don't need no sex education. You do need some twat control. Hey, teacher, leave those kids alone. You know, now that I think about it, probably should have workshopped that. But nevertheless, this features a story done by Jack Thorne, who did Enola Holmes 1 and 2. They're doing a third one. Christ knows why, even though those two weren't that bad. And Rachel Mason, Emma Gordon, and Sean Top. Is he a top? Is he a bottom? Does he have a lot of top trading cards? We get this spelled T-O-P-P. So, if you don't know the story of the first ever test tube baby, this is it, with some conventional story elements and some whimsy and some nice soundtrack choices. And three pretty good leads. You have Thomasin McKenzie, who burst on the scene with Jojo Rabbit, and she also did Eileen, and my favorite movie of 2021, Last Night in Soho. It's her. It's her, by the way. Not Anya Taylor-Joy, as great as she would have been in this, but no, Thomasin McKenzie, who is absolutely tremendous. Fucking incredible in this. She is going to be a star for decades. That being said, Bill Nighy is also in this, and he's been in a lot of stuff, a whole lot of stuff. He plays Patrick Steptoe. I'm sorry, but his last name is Steptoe. It's like, you're going to listen to me. You're not my real toe. I'm sorry. But Jean Purdy, you got it. No, no, no. She's played by Thomasin. And also Bob Edwards, played by James Norton. And you have other characters as well. You have Reese Shaw, who plays the character Aaron. And also, I do want to shout Matron, played by Tanya Moody, who is great in this. She's not given quite as much to do as I would have liked, but she got some really good lines in. So, yes, between 68 and 78, and with some pauses in between because of life, liberty, and the pursuit of insanity, these three came together to create the first ever test tube baby, Louise Joy Brown. I'm sorry if that's a spoiler, but if you don't know your history, you probably should read up on it. They capture the time period well. I do have to say Thomasin McKenzie really does actually look like she could have just been plucked from the 60s. She was great in Last Night in Soho. I mean, granted, Jojo Rabbit was in the 40s. Boy, was that movie weird. And also in Eileen. It's just, she really does have that, great quality where she does look like a classic actress, but also she's classically trained and very, very good. Even at a young age, she absolutely gets it. So they have, we see how their lives are going. Bill Nighy's about to retire. Bill Nighy, the science guy, Bob has his kids. He has his practice, and also he's struggling a bit because, let's just say, Jean has her own things going on, and they want to create this test tube. They want to give infertile women a chance to actually have a shot at having children. Naturally, there's a lot of religious elements that come into this, especially from Jean's side, to the point that her mother really gets pissed off at her. Her mother has her own medical issues. And Bill is a doctor that is about to retire, but Steptoe will not retire yet. And also Bob is put out there in media appearances and is a bit boisterous. And also, he handles himself about as well as he can, but he's very, very, very much, standing up for what he believes in. I did like how, I did like the soundtrack choices, except for Here Comes the Sun. I don't know who the fuck sang that rendition, but whoo! But they did Oogie Boogie Woogum. I think that's how it goes. And we go, basically, after we get some setup, 1969. Nice. They set up a lab, and then from there we see their lives intersect and all this stuff. And yeah, it's told through conventional methods, and there are a few convenient plot points, but you know what? It probably glosses over some of the more heartache moments. And I'm not going to say this movie's necessarily perfect. I think it does take a few convenient paths instead of maybe diving too deep into a subject. but I think it does it well enough where it tells the story without getting too sad, but also having some sad moments. Weaves into history, does it pretty well. So it is on Netflix if you want to check it out. But Thomas and Mackenzie, great. Bill was great. James was great. Really, there were a lot of great performances. So that being said, 3, 2, 1, and spoilers. So basically, Jean has endometriosis, I believe. And yeah, read up on it. It basically took her life in 1985. She was 39 years old. And she was one that Bob had to fight for to basically get, her name on a plaque, the actual thing, to commemorate the fact that they had this monumental scientific achievement. So, Jean could not have children. Her mother felt that she wasn't trying hard enough. She had an argument with her mother to the point that her mother basically says, you either choose me in the church or you choose your work and you are out. Dick. Real fucking dick right there. Jean and Aaron do hook up, but she can't give him what he wants. He really does like her. I mean, to be fair, Thomas and Mackenzie, you would want, two young people getting together like that, you'd want to make sure that you wifed or husband somebody up. I really sound so out of place saying that. And, oh yes, Steptoe's wife wants him to not basically exhaust himself before he fully retires. And Bob also, in the interim, after some setbacks and everything, after some things don't go all that well, he tries to go into politics. That doesn't work out. And before this, they do call Bob Frankenstein because it's unethical to create, kids in labs and stuff like that. Sure, if you're doing it just for profit, or you could be doing it for science because women being born infertile, it's not their fault. They do get backlash. We keep flashing forward here in years. It's the Time Jump Olympics, February 1971. Women are not viewed all that well by the government. I mean, even though they want to do this in the name of science, there are a lot of dicks on that board. And her and Bob basically have suffered quite a bit because Bob is not able to see his children all that much, or his wife, and she's not able to see her mother, partly due to the fact that her mother fucking banished her. And they do call these women that are having these experimental treatments done on them are nicknaming themselves the Ovum Club, which I kind of fucking like. And great soundtrack, by the way. She basically tells Aaron she can't give him what he wants, and he kind of goes off. January 1973, Bob's back on TV, promises to hold himself more accountable and take it easy. And while he makes good points, the media is still hounding him. And that's one big point that this movie actually does make pretty well, is the media kept hounding him because they're heathens. It's terrible. It's not, because women should be allowed to have children, and unfortunately sometimes genetics prevent them from doing that without help. So, a beach day, that's nice. There's, some good music here too. One of the patients, Trisha, is almost out of the age bracket. She's going to be 36 soon. Usually after 35, it's dangerous for women to have kids due to body changes, body chemistry, and all that. And she ends up basically talking to the Reverend at one point, she being Jean. She must answer for her mistakes, which is not why she was there. Bob kind of snaps because the one particular thing doesn't work, and it's because they mess with body chemistry and body chemicals and stuff like that, and body move-in, body move-in. So they kind of then, eliminate the whole thing because Jean decides to leave. She goes back with her mother. Her mother's sick in a wheelchair. She sees Aaron. He has a kid. And yeah, things aren't exactly going all that great because the mother does end up dying a little bit later on, which is kind of sad. Even if the mother was a bitch, I mean, she did kind of realize, you're still my daughter and everything. So, nevertheless, Steptoe, Dr. Steptoe, I just like calling him that because it's funny. Just picturing a guy stepping on his toe while doing surgery, I don't know why it's so funny. Or stub toe. Him, Bob, and Jean come to an agreement to try one more time. So basically it was about a year that they took off, or almost, like, somewhere around that, almost 2 years. And they decided to go a bit more strict with the treatments and stuff, and diet and stuff like that, and not mess with as much stuff and monitor these women even better. And Thomason says, without you, none of this works. 1977 in August, they get the perfect candidate, basically. I swear I know who the woman was. The woman looks very, very familiar. The one that ended up giving birth to the first ever test tube baby, Louise Joy Brown. And that actually happened in November of 77, but the setup was all there. In the August part, though, Bill Nighy does talk about the fact that he was in the Navy, where they sailed the 7 seas in the Navy. I'm sorry, I couldn't help it. I had to put my mind at ease because he was talking about the fact that they had limited medical resources and were only able to treat some, and maybe some were capable of living, but he just had to make these decisions, and it haunts him. And it would. The endometriosis is getting worse. Basically, Jean cannot have children, and it's getting worse, and some of it is treatable, but some of it isn't. And then on July 25th, 1978, we see Mr. Steptoe do a C-section, and the baby's born. And even though the media coverage is absolutely insane, things are successful. And then we see the epilogue where Bob is trying to get her to, Jean's name on the plaque. And it's beautifully told. It is really sad that she died of cancer before she could see the playing out of all the success. They had Louise and Alistair. Those are the 2 that were done under their care. But their work with in vitro fertilization helped basically advance how women can have children and how couples can be happy if they so choose. And that's the thing, it's a choice. When that choice is taken away from you, you look for other options. That's something that this movie actually explores pretty well. So no, not perfect. Some pacing issues and some convenient, things glossed over. But overall, for the performances, especially by Thomason, A+. Well, A minus. A minus actually is what I'm going to go. Not A+, because I still have some issues. But performance strength goes, really, really far. Because otherwise, this probably would have been like a B minus. But yeah, A minus for sure. And I gave it 4 stars on Letterboxd. You can check out my Letterboxd if you want. Speaking of which, let me know your thoughts in the comments. Like, share, subscribe, Twitter, Letterboxd, and Blue Sky handles in the description. I'm John Riplin. I'll see you soon.